Welcome, Zac. Welcome to my podcast. I invited you for this episode to talk about solo traveling. I thought you would be a great asset to talk about this topic because I know that you did solo travel before as well. So just tell me a bit about yourself, when you start traveling and when was your first solo trip?
Yeah, sure. So I'm 22 years old and I study at Anglia-Ruskin University as well, the university that you graduated from recently. So congratulations about that. And I study business management, and my passion for travel sort of started when I was around about 16, 17 years old. But I never really had the courage to get out there and to go traveling. So it was only when I'd met my girlfriend at the time who really inspired me to go traveling. And we travelled, I would say, about 7 or 8 countries in and around Europe together. And then that really sparked my inspiration to go travelling. We had actually separated, and I still continue to go travelling. So I don't think that if I'd ever gone with her in the first place, then I would have the courage to be able to do it. So I'm very lucky to have been able to do that.
I see.
Yeah.
And the transition to travel with her to travel alone, how was that for you?
You know what? I just felt it was the right time. So of course I want to travel the world. Like, who doesn't want to travel the world, right? And it's all about plucking up the courage and the confidence to be able to go on your own. So I went somewhere in Europe. I went to Rome, and the amazing thing about somewhere like Rome is that it's just coated in history and art and architecture. So it's just a wonderful place to be able to immerse yourself as a solo traveller.
Yeah. How long did you stay there?
I stayed there for 1 week.
1 week.
1 week, yeah.
And how was the feeling like after traveling for so long with company? How was your feeling to travel alone, be alone for a whole week?
You know what? It was. I would say the first part of it was really exciting. Like getting up early, having packed my things from the night before, getting the bus to the airport, waiting for my flight, like kind of sitting there like really impatient, like I just can't wait to get there, and then once I was there, I kind of just had to take a step back because I'm like, time is on my side. I'm there for a whole week. I'm on nobody else's clock. I should just take my time with it and not rush myself, because I think one of the biggest mistakes travellers do when they go travelling is that they try to spend as much time as possible doing as many things as possible, and then a few days into their trip they tend to burn out quite a lot.
I think from Zac's example we can just understand that no problem to travel with company or without company. It's just a matter of having that courage to take the first step to, okay, this is my time, I'm gonna enjoy it, right?
Absolutely. And then for the rest of the time that I was there, I just I took part in loads of walking tours. It's quite typical in places such as Europe to have free walking tours, and then it's optional as to whether or not you want to tip the guide. Absolutely. And it's coming from an English background, English culture, it's very courteous to tip the guide. So that was something that I did. But as I'm a student and I'm on a bit of a budget, even like 2 or 4 euros like goes a really long way to them and to me as well. It makes me feel quite nice for the experience that they've provided.
Great. That's great to hear. Actually, I have a similar experience as well in solo traveling. I think my first trip alone was when I decided to come to England to study.
Right.
I don't consider it as a trip, but it was a huge step in terms of having the courage to go alone to somewhere else. I don't regret it at all because that was the first trip that changed the rest of my life, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But then solo traveling, it only happened after an experience that I had. It's funny because it was also to be a trip to Italy. So it's quite.
We talked about this, didn't we?
Yeah, it's quite funny. So I will just explain it very quickly. I had a trip booked to Italy with a friend, and basically at last minute she couldn't make it, and I was like, oh, okay, so I'm just not gonna go alone, and I regretted that feeling for so long, that I decided no, I need to seize my moment. I need to go and I need to start traveling because I like it. And I'm not going to be waiting around for someone to do this, to have this experience with. So just going to do it. And I enjoyed it a lot. So I think one of the reasons that take people to solo travel is, first of all, because there is no company to do the same experience or with the same availability. What else do you think could be a factor for people to travel solo?
It's a great question. It's definitely like
travel, like a travel company would be definitely a factor.
Yeah, absolutely. I think a lot of people only decide to do it because of, like, it's the sharing of experience, right? And a lot of something that a lot of people oversee is that, you know, whilst you are traveling, and if you put yourself in uncomfortable situations, you often bump into the most amazing people, and you meet some people that you'll be friends with for the rest of your life. So people need to take that into consideration before going as well. You know, when you push yourself out of your comfort zone and you take the biggest risks, necessary risks, of course, that's when you stumble upon, you know, some of the most amazing experiences in your life.
Definitely, and this would be one of the greatest advantages of traveling solo, in my opinion, which is stepping out of your comfort zone, but making the most out of it. And you know what, now that I've traveled solo for so long, I kind of feel that my comfort zone is actually outside what I had the idea that my comfort zone was before. I don't know if this is making any sense at this point. If you feel the same.
Not quite. I don't think. Like I said, I've only done one solo travel trip. The rest of my trips were with other people, so I've got a long way to go. I don't think I'm half as confident as what you are, but I hope to get to that stage, because it's only once you've put yourself in that situation so many times that you're able to go further and, you know, reach for bigger things and reach for greater things. You know what I mean?
I remember before you took this solo trip to Rome, we actually had a conversation about, I don't know if I'm confident enough to do it. Should I do it? I don't know if you want to share a bit more about
so
how were your feelings before and stuff.
I was definitely reluctant to do it at first, but like I said, after thinking about it for so long, I plucked up the courage to do it. And then, you know, as it so happens, it was actually a period of my life where it's something I should have done, and I did do it, and I'm glad I did it. So I know for the future that if things are starting to seem tough, that I can just book a plane ticket and I can just go, and I can just, it's what you make of it at the end of the day. And I definitely made the most of it. I think one of the disadvantages might be like comfort and security. Obviously, having someone alongside you, whether it's your best friend or a family member, if you were to encounter a situation in which you might not feel comfortable, you know, maybe conversing with somebody else, you'll always have the person that you already know there to back you up and make you feel okay.
Which you don't when you solo travel.
Exactly. So you kind of have to fend for yourself in every situation. Because the world is mostly a safe place, but of course there are some people out there who could go out of their way to make your experience a bad one. So I would say safety and security.
I tend to think something that I'm just going to share. I think solo travel is this weird situation where responsibility is a blessing and a curse at the same time, because you are by yourself. So everything is up to you. And you have no one else to rely on.
You've solo traveled quite a bit.
Yeah.
So how do you feel, or how did you feel in the beginning compared to how you feel now?
I feel more secure, for sure. But again, when I started very small, so I didn't went. My first solo trips were around England, so I knew the country, I knew the language, I knew how things work. I knew the currency. Currency is also an important matter in this subject, because when I traveled Scandinavia, I was a bit lost. For the first time, I was like, okay, I'm paying, but I have no clue. Then I backed up with some resources in this area, and everything got organized. But I think definitely the experience comes in handy in terms of finding security to keep solo traveling, for sure. But just as I was saying, this is really funny because you are responsible for everything that happens, and this may sound like a curse at some points, but it's a blessing because you can take it at your own pace. So you can either keep on traveling, waste yourself as you were just mentioning before, or you can take it very slow, just enjoy the moment. You can literally plan your trip the way you want to. There's nothing that could be a problem, or nothing should make you feel uncomfortable because you are responsible for your travel.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think another disadvantage that I hear about, I don't quite feel this because I really enjoy my company when I'm solo traveling, but I hear that lots of people feel homesick when solo traveling and feel alone.
I hear that as well.
Especially when they travel for long. You traveled for a whole week. Did you felt that you were alone? And
I'll be honest, no, I didn't. I mean, you know, in the grand scheme of things, it's not a very long time at all compared to, you know, how long
months.
People go traveling for, right? Like, I would say, like, the typical working class person or middle class person goes traveling for around about a month per year. So you get like 21 or 28 holidays, and so in the grand scheme of things, I would say a month, you know, could be quite a challenge. I would say people who go backpacking for long periods of time, 6 to 12 months, could also be a challenge. Or those who even go to move somewhere, who become an expat, you know, permanently. I would find that very challenging as well. But if you do things in baby steps,
exactly,
your personal growth will be substantial.
At your own level.
Absolutely. And I think by going for a week on my own, on my trip, somewhere relatively familiar, you know, the next time I'll go on somewhere for 2 weeks, and then after that a month.
Exactly.
And you just take these gradual steps, and then before you know it, you're the ultimate solo traveller. You could say, I can go anywhere in the world on my own, and I would feel comfortable. I would find a solution to most problems given to me, and I won't find it so difficult being away from home for such a long period of time.
I see.
Yeah.
Probably a good tip to avoid feeling alone when traveling is to get involved in group activities. For example, you can either go for tours, and usually being a solo traveler in this stage comes in really handy because you are more aware of the group in front of you than you would be if you were traveling with someone else. Because I don't know if you experienced this, but usually when I travel with some friends, I tend to point my attention towards them.
Yeah.
When I'm solo traveling, I'm completely open-minded, and wherever I will be, I will just be present and engaging with the people around me. So probably this is why I don't feel homesick most of the times. So I would definitely recommend this as a good tip if you do feel that you are alone when you solo travel. Do you think solo travel is only for young people?
That's a really good question. I would say most definitely not. I would say, I mean, I can only speak from a young person's experience, but when I travel and I see older people traveling, or those who seem to be solo travelers, I just think they've got something going. Do you know what I mean? Like it sort of inspires me. It reminds me that I'm still young. And it reminds me that it doesn't matter how old I'm going to be in the future, like I can always go solo traveling, and seeing those people when I go traveling really inspires me. So I don't think there's any age limit to it, to be honest.
I don't think so either. Yeah.
I think, you know, as the older you get and the more experiences you have and the more experiences you share with other people who you meet on your journeys, the more confident you become. And, you know, that's a great question. I'd never really thought about that before.
Yeah, because I hear a lot saying, just travel now, you know what? You are young, you're single, you don't have kids, you don't have family, so this is the time for you to solo travel. And I'm just like, maybe not quite right. I think solo traveling is definitely an option available for everybody. You just need to take the time. Being comfortable with it, because you don't have to do it just because it's fancy and everyone is doing it. just don't go with it if it's not your flow. You know, just stick to your vibe, stick to whatever you like to do, and yeah, definitely have an experience like this would make a difference in terms of how confident you feel with yourself, don't you think?
I would say the biggest challenge it comes to people who are slightly older is that they tend to have more responsibilities, whether it be children or maybe paying towards a mortgage, or investing their money into a business. So they may feel as though, time is not on their side. I think time is certainly on their side, but I think it's just about them sort of prioritizing their tasks. And I think if traveling is something you really, really want to do, you should prioritize it no matter how old you are.
This just remind me, I was in Norway, and I was having food in a common table, because usually when I solo travel and there are common tables, I just go for them because I know that that's a good way of engaging with different people, whereas if you just sit on your own, no one will talk to you.
No.
So I was sitting there, and a guy within his 50s, something, comes and says, "I'm solo traveling too." And I was like, okay, so we got to talk, and I asked him, what about the time and the responsibilities? And he said, now I know how to enjoy my time. Now I have like financial stability, I have a knowledge of myself, I know who I am, I know like how my life is going, everything is stable. So now I have the time to enjoy some time on my own, and that really changed my perspective in terms of, because he did had kids and he had a family. So I think everything is possible. It's just a matter of organizing yourself, perhaps. Which is key when you solo travel.
Sure.
Be organized.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, be organized.
I mean, if you're unorganized and you go traveling,
things can go wrong.
Things can go wrong. You can find yourself tripping up all over the place.
Yeah, that is true.
So it's very important to just make sure you book in advance. Don't hesitate to ask people for directions. I think, again, it sort of falls into like comfort and security, right? People are so reluctant to go up and ask locals questions or directions because they're afraid of how badly they might speak the language, or if they're going to offend someone. And 9 times out of 10, maybe even more than that, chances are you're not going to upset anybody. It doesn't cost anything to give anybody directions.
Not everything is bad about solo traveling. No. There are plenty of positive aspects on it, and for me, my favorite one would be the amount of people that I get to engage with and become part of my story somehow. When I solo travel, I'm more aware of who's around me, and I'm more I feel like I should talk to people, whereas when I travel with my friends, I tend to stick to that group that I am with. What would be for you the greatest aspect of solo travel?
So very similar to you, I enjoy my own company. So just the idea of not having to wake up at a certain time because somebody else wants to wake up at a certain time, or they typically wake up at a certain time.
The freedom of solo travel.
It's brilliant. It's absolutely brilliant. You get to organise, what days out you want to go on, what activities you want to do, what sites you want to see, what restaurants you want to eat at. So a solo trip it's my trip, it's not anybody else's. And so I would say that's a key factor, is you plan what you want to do. You don't have to worry about what anyone else wants to do, whether they're going to like what you've chosen to do or whether they dislike it. So that for me is a main factor, for sure.
There is also a good thing which relates a lot with this that you just mentioned, which is when you solo travel, your budget is really your budget, right?
Yeah.
Because when you travel with friends or with your family, the budget tends to always come a bit higher than you intended to.
Right.
And I don't know if you experienced this, but I do my own budget before traveling. I
Okay.
plan it, and every time I go alone, I'm finding it out that I'm becoming more and more clever in the way of spending the money, and I'm sticking to the budget or not even reaching the budget. So I'm just really enjoying this about me. I don't know if this is something that will keep going, but I think by solo traveling, I really make the most out of it because it's my options.
You know what's interesting? Like I've just made a correlation after you saying that, and it's a factor of like independence and like assessing your financial situation. Is all of that stuff you do abroad when you're solo traveling, and then you come back to your home, like you're independent and you're
Yes.
financially aware. Do you
Yeah.
know what I mean? So it makes you so much more independent in preparation for when you come back home as
That
well.
is true.
And you don't even realize it. And I think that's a really important part of being at home, going somewhere on your own, growing, coming back, and then going and growing again. Like when you come back home, you never go back to that stage one. Do you know what I mean?
is
Where
true.
you don't know how to control your finances so well, or you're worried about being alone at home, But then you go away and you're like, these things, like, these are not a problem for me whatsoever. So when you come back home, it's like, great,
That is true. Yeah, that happens a lot, and every time that you come back, you are a different person.
Yeah,
You're
definitely.
just upgrading yourself, in my honest opinion.
Definitely. I completely
Yeah.
agree with you
Yeah.
there.
Do you have anything in particular that you take out from all of your travels?
Like what have I
an
taken away
outcome,
from the
yeah.
most? It's probably be something along the lines of just don't be afraid to put yourself out there. Again, like often I'm quite an introvert, and it's only when I go traveling that I'm putting situations where I have to become an extrovert in order to maximize my time there. If you go there and you continue to be quite introverted and you shy away from conversations and you shy away from group activities, you're only going to come back home and be like, damn, I wish I wish I got involved. I wish I made friends with that person because they seemed really cool. I wish I did that, but I was so scared in the moment, and so something which I now do at home is that I'm not afraid to put myself in uncomfortable situations.
Because you took that as an outcome from your trip. Yeah.
Absolutely. For me, overall, it's just been a massive confidence boost. And I feel that every time I go traveling, I come back that little bit more confident. And then next time I go traveling, I'm more confident to do the things which I would have not done in the past, right?
Yeah.
So for me, it's confidence when it comes to exploring the unknown, definitely.
That is great. That is a
Yeah.
great answer. Yeah, that's definitely great. I
how
don't
about
feel
you?
like I'm an introvert
Sure.
in that sense. At the beginning, I had the feeling of regretting not taking as many chances as I could have done when I was traveling. But because I'm an extrovert, I get to talk with everyone who's around me. I don't care.
Sure.
Probably I regret more that I've talked to them that I haven't talked
Then
to
you haven't talked to them, yeah.
Yeah, probably that's the situation. But no, at this stage, I think confidence-wise, I'm happy where I am at the moment. I think my biggest outcome from traveling would be I find out that I'm way more responsible than I thought that I was. And this really gives me confidence in terms of knowing that I will be able to do something because I am responsible enough to make it happen. So this was it for this episode. I hope you enjoyed our conversation about solo traveling. Zac, thank you for being part
Thanks for having me.
of this
It's been
episode.
great fun.
Thank you. I really enjoyed your experience and you talking really honest from your own experience about this topic, because this is where we get the best advice from. People do talk honest and from their experience. I think if you have any more questions, you can leave them below. Me and Zach would be happy to reply to you on the comments as well. And do you have any feedback you would like to leave in terms of solo traveling?
Yeah. So I would just, definitely say, like, go and get it. 100%. Like, don't hold back. If there is a certain place in the world that interests you, has always, caught your eye, you've been fascinated to know more about, book a flight there, book a place to stay. It doesn't have to be incredibly expensive. In fact, people travel for,
Cheap
minimal
flights,
money.
yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So in terms of affordability, like, there are certain ways around it. In terms of, being worried about doing it on your own, don't be.
Shouldn't be a concern, yeah.
Absolutely not. And the first time you do it, you'll have a completely different outlook on solo traveling as a whole. You'll never hesitate to do it again. So my advice as a whole would be to just literally just do it. I think Nike says it better than anybody else. Yeah, just do it. Yeah.
True, just do it. I agree with Zach. I honestly think this is an experience that everyone should have at least once in their life, and it's really worth it in terms of the outcome that the whole experience brings to us. At the end of the trip, I think we become better persons after we have this experience.
So I would say, like, key points would be, like, plan it, make sure you're organised, don't foolishly go on a travel because, merely for the sake of it, it's not a very smart way to go around.
And actually organise it to have some freedom to go out of your plan. Other key factor would be...
So be organised, be brave, be bold to put yourself in necessary uncomfortable situations.
Have the courage to do it.
Yeah, definitely. So organisation,
get involved as much as you can. Take all those experiences that come in your way, because they would be great stories to tell in the future.
Yeah.
Like you just did today. Thank you, Zach. Thank you for being here today. It was a pleasure. I did really enjoy our conversation. I hope you enjoy it too. And I will see you on the next episode. No, I'm laughing.